Okay, I have this Vanity dresser. You can see it's missing the mirror. So it's got this space here. It kind of makes me sad. There's something I'm going to do there. But, some damages you'd expect. Things you'd expect. In the drawers, we got some loose dovetails in all the drawers. You can see this is loose here. Loose here. Needs some glue up here. This drawer, pull it out. Definitely needs some work. I don't know. It's obviously been painted this purple color. I don't know why. Like, is there damage? I don't know. So we're gonna start seeing what we can do and see where it goes. Welcome. I'm Heather, and I like to do things. Stick around and find out what Heather did today. I decided to start with repairing everything and pulling everything back together. So just poured glue into all the cracks where the wood needed to come back together. Used a popsicle and clamps to help it along, just to make sure there's enough glue on everything, because you can wipe away the excess, but you need enough glue. I just popped back in there. It was really satisfying and really easy. And after this, all you have to do is put clamps on everything, clean up the excess glue, and then just let it sit and dry, because you need that glue dry before you take the clamps off and try to do anything else. While the glue was drying, decided it was time to clean, so start with vacuuming, getting all the loose dust, hair, bugs, spider webs, whatever. Get all that out of there. And then my daughter helped me, so sweet. Cleaned it with just a really good degreaser. You just want to make sure any oils from hands or anything like that, cleaning products or anything, everything's off there. So cleaned it with a degreaser, washed it down with water, and then it's clean and ready to get started. I know this might be kind of hard to see on camera, but that looks like just paint dripping in there, but it's not. I don't know if you can tell, but it's fuzzy. So it looks like when they painted, they just didn't clean it, so they painted over anything that was on there. Like, you can see chunks of, there was fur and dust and everything else. So just make sure. I spent a lot of time scraping all this out and trying to clean it, but just make sure if you're going to paint anything, to clean it well first, so you're not painting that stuff down onto your piece, because it was gross. It's a treasure hunt. Look, there's treasure in here. It's not gold. Sad. I don't know how well you can tell, but in the edges and then in the creases where the white is, the paint's kind of thick. So I decided to strip some of the areas to get that excess paint off, so I'd have a smoother surface to start with, because that's going to be hard to sand. So I use Clean Strip, the 15-minute formula. Just put it on with the little chip brush and let it actually sit for 15 minutes. You can tell when it's ready because the paint will start bubbling up, and then after it sits, I just use a little plastic scraper to scrape it off. It works really well. And then I also have steel wool to help scrub any areas. You do need to make sure you go over it with mineral spirits to neutralize it after you're finished with it. And this is going to be a much better surface for painting, because it is going to get painted. I considered not painting it, but it's going to get painted. To remove the handles, you just remove the screws There are 2 screws holding this together. Now, it's 2 pieces for this pull. That back metal plate it protects the wood. So when you pull the screws out, they'll actually come apart. Just be aware of that so you don't drop them. Also, this plate helps to cover up any mistakes, like being unable to figure out where the screw holes should go and ending up with like 3 of them for every drawer. These handles are really sturdy. They're heavy duty. I'll be keeping them. You can see here on the dovetails that someone had fixed the loose dovetails previously with nails, and that one's not in very well, but then this one went through and damaged the top. So nails are not the proper way for fixing dovetails, if you're curious. Yeah. I sanded that flat, so it's okay, but still, don't do that. Some of the dovetails on these drawers are loose, you can see here. And so I'm just going to use a little bit of wood glue and a glue syringe and glue them back together. Just get as much glue in there as you can, kind of pull it apart. Get some glue in there. Oh, good grief. You don't have to have a glue syringe, by the way, but it does help. I picked these up at Hobby Lobby. It was like $5 for a whole pack of them. Just want to get as much in there as you can. The bottom ones on this drawer are pretty sturdy, so I'm just doing these. The front, you can see, is really loose there. So, some glue. Also, didn't show it because the importance of cleaning your pieces. I just found another piece of gold tinsel. Been taking gold tinsel out of everything. Now it's time for everybody's favorite part, the sanding, right? You sand. I used 120 grit here. I didn't care if I took the paint off. I just wanted everything smooth and fresh, had a nice surface. And then I sanded. Also for the insides of the drawers, I have a non-round sander, so I have a little triangular sander. It's just a detail sander to get all those corners and edges, because this won't do that. After sanding forever, I decided to fix all these extra holes. I don't need to, like, they don't get seen, but if anybody like me or somebody else ever decides to change out the handles, there are fewer holes. There's that. So I figured out which holes I did need. Taped off the underside. I had a dowel that would fit. Put some glue down in the holes. Put some glue on the dowels. Stuck the dowels in the holes. Lots of glue. Watch, this is satisfying too. Whoop. After those are in there, I did make sure they were flush in the back. I didn't want to have to cut in the back. Wipe off the excess glue. I let them dry. Then took my flush cut saw and cut those off. And then I like how long it takes me to figure out how to get the other one. And what do I do? Oh, I flipped the drawer over. I got it. We're good. And you know what I did after that? I sanded some more. I used wood filler to make sure all the cracks and stuff were smooth. And then I just sanded again. So I sanded the back here to try to see if there was any veneer, and I don't see a line, if I can get that to focus, where you would see veneer, like you could see the layer. So I'm gonna think it's not veneer. I'm not gonna sand aggressively, but I don't think it's veneer. Hey, look, more sanding. All the sanding. I gotta sand those details, and I have like just a handheld little sanding sponge. All the sanding. Some more sanding. To clean these pools, I soaked them in vinegar so you can see some of the, it was a finish just coming off. So, and then I used this pink stuff and a nylon bristled brush and just scrubbed them. It really wasn't even that hard. Just gave them a light little scrub and then rinsed them with warm water like it says to do. And after I rinsed them, I dried them off with a old rag. Believe it or not, that's an old rag. And they look really shiny. I like them. We're keeping them. And I just repeated that over and over again. Yay, more sanding. I was tired of it. I made my daughter do it. I'm just kidding. She offered to help. But this is where I was sanding the top. Got her a little mask, don't worry. And got this nice and smooth so it would be ready for paint. Okay, here are all the parts all sanded. After sanding, I did go through and wash them again. I was worried about the grain raising slightly, which it did ever so slightly. Not enough that I'm worried about it, since my plan is to prime and then sand before painting. It really just needed it. Like, there was gunk still in some of the spot corners. Wanted to make sure I got all that. Something I also noticed while cleaning is that some of the repairs that were made previously, let's see if I get under here, I can't see, there's a nail right there, trying to focus, there's a nail right there. I think they were trying to fix this piece, but instead the nail went between the glue block and the piece. And then in here, there's that big nail from where somebody was reattaching the backing, went in slightly. And after all the sanding and cleaning and sanding and cleaning and cleaning and sanding some more, it was time to paint. So I taped off the drawers to try to keep, you know, the paint where I wanted the paint and not where I didn't want it. So tape the drawers, make sure they would go in. And then I tried showing this, but I didn't actually get it in camera. I don't know what I was doing. But to prime, I just used a gray Rust-Oleum primer because I wanted to spray. And I used a little tack cloth to make sure everything was off, and then sprayed it. Just a light coat, despite what it looks like. And then there's a spot right there that looks kind of weird, but it dried fine. It was smooth. It didn't affect the paint. So here's where I'd sprayed the rest of it. And it's ready for paint. But first, I needed to do something pretty for the drawers. So I used this little stencil that I found and some paint and made some little pretty designs on the drawer. I tried a little stenciling brush and all sorts of stuff I liked. This is just a little foam applicator. I liked this the best. I just really carefully went over it, and I liked the way it went. It was quick, it was easy, and it was big enough that it didn't try to lift up the stencil to get the paint under it, so it worked well. Which you can see, I don't know if you can see there, but the stencil is kind of lifted, so that was convenient. When I went to the store to get paint, I couldn't find the paint I wanted in the color I wanted. So the very special client picked out this Rust-Oleum linen white. It's their chalked paint, and it's a beautiful color. I will say that. It is really thick. Chalk paint is really thick. I don't know. I used this brush I got off Amazon. It's just a cheap brush. It wasn't quite as, didn't go on quite as smooth as I've used before. Could be the brush. I don't know. But I just didn't get quite the finish I wanted. But the great thing about chalk paint is you can sand it really easily. And if you wet sand with a fine grit paper, you will get an amazingly smooth finish. So that's what I did, is I gave it a little bit of a sand between coats. It was not one coat coverage for me, but it did go on nicely. When I looked at these back pieces, I decided they had to go. I was going to replace them and then decided not to. They were just cracked, broken, excessive nail holes. They needed to go. I intended to replace them, and for reasons I didn't. But just carefully pried them off. Really careful not to damage the vanity itself. I don't care if these pieces get broken. But I decided, since this is going to go up against a wall and my daughter wanted this piece, it was not my intention when I bought it, but she really wanted it, so I decided I'm refinishing it for her. I decided I would leave these off. And if I refinish it again, I can put something back on there. And I'm really glad I took them off, because I found yet more crap that needed to be cleaned. Here is the piece after one coat of paint. I did use my paint sprayer, and you can tell one coat really did have good coverage, but I wanted a second coat anyway. So I was using my paint sprayer to do this. I should have had a ground cover or something under it so nothing would like blow up and get in the paint. Luckily that didn't happen. I gave it a very light sand, just knocking down any dust nibs that might be there. Go over it, wipe the whole thing back down. And before you spray, you should always test your sprayer. See? You don't have to use your fence like I did, but you know, test your sprayer. I got the settings I liked, that I was happy with, and here I am just spraying it. It's not really exciting to watch. So this is the vanity that we are replacing for my daughter. It's obviously a little girl's vanity, very well loved, and she had a clear vision of what she wanted, and I am going to help her create it. So what you see is her vision.
Ready?
I'm ready. Don't get too much, because then you might just cause a blob instead of a spatter.
Why does it want to go on top?
Okay.
That one looks like a cool snake. I killed someone.
Stupid bugs.
Work.
Oh, I liked it how you got the different ones on there. You got like some small ones.
How cringy it is getting your white clothes wet.
Don't too much.
Your white clothes dirty.
And make sure you go in different directions. Hold the brush different. Oh, you got me. We don't need to get the back, baby.
I just...
Now, I do realize that we shouldn't have started with red paint because it does look like something out of a horror film. But again, I was letting my daughter call the shots. This was her vision. She wanted this to be her vanity. So the colors that we're using aren't any particular brand. It's just when I go to the paint store, I look at their mist tint section. And if they're usually in the little ones, they'll have bright colors. So I picked those up, watered it down a lot, and then we used cheap chip brushes to flick the paint. The key is not to get too much on your brush. And if you do get little blobs, like you can see that red one up there, just waited for it to dry. I painted over it with white. There's a little bit of texture, but there's a lot of texture once you spatter paint it. So we did the red, we did yellow, we did green, and then a layer of blue. The key is to make sure it's really dry between every layer before you do anything. And go in lots of different directions, different flicking patterns. We had a blast doing this. This was a great time for us. Here it is with all the colors that she picked, and she absolutely loves this. Probably not the look I would have gone for, but she loves it. I use my sprayer to apply 3 coats of polyacrylic, put a coat on, let it dry, sand, and just add the next coat, but make sure you sand lightly in between coats. And the sprayer makes that go really, really fast. I used Howard's Feed and Wax on the inside of the drawers. Wipe it on, wipe it off kind of thing. And then my daughter picked out these scented drawer liners just to line them and make them look pretty. They're not sticky, so it was literally just cut them down to size and put them in the bottom. To reattach the beautiful shiny handles, you just stick them on there, line everything up, which was a little bit of a challenge, but they went on. Attach everything, it looks great. Make the drawers glide a little smoother. I have this little wax, it's just old wax that I melted and put in a muffin tin. And I just rub it on everywhere the wood would rub together. So along here on the bottom of the drawers, it just helps it to glide a little bit smoother and avoid all that squeaking. And it's time to put the drawers back in. They were marked, so I know which one goes where, which is always helpful. And this is the drawer that was sticking and squeaky before, so everything seems to be happy and smooth again. And just a reminder, this is what it looked like. Purple, distressed, very squeaky drawers, and some wood that was coming apart. And here's where it is now. I'm not gonna lie, this was not the direction I intended to take it. But I will tell you, this would have fit in my childhood bedroom. It's like nostalgia. And I'm not finished. I'm gonna do like a mirror thing on the back for her, and she needs a bench. She's gonna sit at her new vanity. Definitely needs a bench. And the great news on this one is when she's done with it, I can easily take the paint off and fix it and redo it. And she is very happy with it. She's actually been using it a lot. So I'd like to know what you think below. Comment, let me know what you think. What direction would you have gone with this? And if you think I've earned it, please like and subscribe, share my video, help me out here. Okay, let's see how the client feels about this finished piece.
I like it. I don't like it, I love it. Make sure to like and subscribe for more clips like this. Yes!